All right, welcome back. Talking a little lightweights. Now, Barack, Ryan Garcia, after the knockout of Fonseca, if I'm not mistaken, that was his name. Guy that Tank went 8-9 rounds with, and Ryan Garcia got him out of there in the round. We were excited about it. We said we can't wait to the next big test. The next big test was Jorge Linares, who had a 4-round knockout on that same card. And we knew that that was a real test, right? Unfortunately, because of the pandemic and Linares spending time in Japan, it couldn't happen, and other issues with his comeback fight. Now, Luke Campbell is another huge test, an Olympian, southpaw. We were excited about that. We figured that would be Ryan's next big test. But now there's issues, and even Oscar De La Hoya from Golden Boy is frustrated with the negotiations with this Luke Campbell-Ryan Garcia fight. Barack, I mean, is Ryan and his team sticking to their ground and trying to hold on to the contract that was created before the pandemic? Should he be budget? I'm assuming that's the problem with the negotiations. I could be wrong.
Oh man, listen, there's always going to be problems when money is involved. When a fighter feels like he's worth this, and then the promoter saying, "Hey, these are not the times." I think there should be some middle ground where they should meet at. I think that both of them have to budge a little bit. You're going to have to give as a promoter, even in times where you get losses. We've spoken to Eddie Hearn, and I've asked him before, and I said, have you ever lost on certain boxing events? And he says, yes, I've lost $900,000 one time. That's the most he's ever lost. And then he recouped when Canelo fought one of his fighters. So that's the thing, like Danny Jacobs. So that's the thing. Sometimes you got to take a loss even as a promoter. So we can't just expect these fighters to take a loss as well. Maybe they feel like it's always a win-win for the fighters because they don't necessarily lose financially, but you're missing out on some money that you feel you deserve.
Yeah, and ironically enough, the fight that Eddie Hearn lost that money was Daniel Jacobs versus Derevchenko.
I didn't say it on purpose. I didn't say it on purpose. And then you're going to say it. Look at that.
No, I mean, he said it on our show on DAZN. He said it publicly.
Yeah, but that was a couple of years ago. That was a year and a half ago. Like, come on. We ain't got to say
so
that.
What? It's not hidden information. My point to that statement is that the same guy that he lost money with, where he was able to recoup it when that same guy, Daniel Jacobs, for Canelo, like you just mentioned. So, at least even though he lost with Danny, he actually won with Danny eventually. So I was making that point, but it wasn't hidden.
All right, you cleaned that up. That was a good cleanup. So my bad on that one. You cleaned that one up really good.
All right, so I get your point, Barack. There has to be some middle ground. You cannot get around this pandemic, right? There's no question about it. Millions have suffered financially from this, including the networks, the promoters, obviously, the fighters, even though this sport is life-threatening and very risky. So I'm always going to side with the fighters slightly, but I can't ignore what's happened in the world. We live in an entirely new world, right? So though the fighter needs to budge, I don't think that much, because you're still going in that ring regardless of an audience and risking your life to entertain millions of people. We would hope that millions watch. So I get both sides. We don't know the negotiations. We're not privy to that. But I really hope that they can get that together, Barack, because we need to see Ryan Garcia on that level of a fight to see, what's next for him and if he can hang with those guys, with the Devin Haney's and the Tank Davis. Me, in my opinion, I feel like he can hang with them now. Yes.
Okay. Remember, I attack people that say hang with them. Is either can they beat them or not. But listen. Also in news, there's a young kid, he's from Ireland. He lives in my neighborhood now in California, and his name is Stephen McKenna. And he's made news because right now he's working with Luke Campbell, and he's sparring with him. He's a 4-0 fighter himself, McKenna. And he's saying that, listen, I believe that Luke Campbell is so sharp right now that he would stop Ryan Garcia. And that's what he's saying right now. So Ryan Garcia just recently, I believe it was this morning, he reached out. And he left a tweet, or was it an Instagram post or whatever, and he says this. He says, I've already messaged this kid in the DM and told him his sparring we had back in 2018, I had him doing a stanky leg with one left hook. And to top it off, it was before I started training with Coach Eddie. So it would be worse for him. He comes forward taking 1 million hits in the face. You know, so it's like.
Is this the same guy that you're mentioning that put out a tweet or a post saying that Ryan can't deal with pressure because he was putting pressure on Ryan and he doesn't know how to deal with it? Is that the same guy?
This is who I'm talking about. He's saying when I sparred Ryan, he gave up. You know, he said, you know what, he had enough. You know, but then again, that's the thing. It's sparring. You never know where the person is at in their camp when they're fighting you. It could be the first week in camp. You know, it could be a little rusty, little ring rust. You never know. And then what Ryan said makes a lot of sense. That was before Eddie Reynoso. He's a different fighter. He's a better fighter. You know, so you can't judge him according to that.
Even outside of that, Barack, I honestly, yes, sparring is important, but I never go by them sparring stories and compare that to a fight that's about to happen, man. It's so different. You wouldn't believe, growing up in the gym, the type of champions I've seen spar and kind of get beat up, but when in shape and when in the professional prize fight, it's a totally different story. So I don't want to hear those sparring stories about what Ryan, what you were able to do with Ryan. Let's see what happens in that fight. I'm picking Ryan Garcia to beat Luke Campbell and stop him in about 7 or 8 rounds. That's my take on that fight.
Wow. Bold.
All right? I mean,
bold statement.
Predicting that. Yeah, I'm predicting it. That fight doesn't go the distance. It ends in a knockout.
If the fight's even made. If that fight is even made, that's the problem. You know, we're trying to get this fight made. I want to see this fight. I think it's a perfect, beautiful step-up fight for Ryan. And I think it's a good fight for Luke Campbell as well, you know, having 3 losses.
All right, yeah, so hopefully that fight is made. I'm ready to see some big boxing fights made.